everyone. I'm Pastor Deb. It's my husband, Pastor Stephen. And today we're going to talk about 6 qualities for being great lovers. So this section we've kind of pulled from marriage course from the Alpha curriculum that we've really found valuable, and we use it when we're teaching classes to engaged couples. Mm-hmm. So just kind of looking how to maintain your sexual relationship over the course of your marriage, and just good things to be doing to keep your love life fresh.
Mm-hmm. Our first quality is communication. It's about actually having a conversation, talking about your sex life. Mm-hmm. Sex is a way in itself of communicating love that goes beyond words, and it's the ultimate in body language, so to speak. But it's also, you need to talk words about each other's state and how you're feeling in your sex life, you know. So it's worth asking, you know, what would you like me to do for you? What feels good for you? What, you know, to share words, to communicate explicitly about your sex life so that there's not confusion. When there's an absence of communication, there's the silence can become the worst possible scenario. If your spouse is not really communicating to you what they're thinking, you can come up with the worst ideas about what they might be thinking. So it's worth, both for men and women, to learn how to speak about their sex life without being embarrassed, without being shy, without being too insecure about body image or something like that, or without being embarrassed, or feeling like you ought to know already, or, you know, I ought to be so good at sex that I don't have to ask if this is right? Like, you need to have this conversation with your spouse. Communication is part of what makes a great lover.
Yeah, it's really important to be able to be honest about what things feel pleasurable and what things don't, and what we're in the mood for and what we're not, and just to be honest with how we're feeling, what we're wanting, and it can be hard to move past our own insecurities, to have those conversations, but it really is a blessing when you can just be honest about what your needs are. And it's really an immature frame of thinking that if my spouse loved me enough, they would understand, you know, like somehow, you know, we learn to read minds as we as we get to know each other. But communicating about these things is just as important as other communication, and it can really remove some of the stress. And if we can communicate, we can laugh about things, and we can just be playful and have fun, and not see sexuality as something that's, you know, a performance or something that has to be perfect and just right. And we can be okay with our imperfect bodies and learning how to care for each other.
We're imperfect people, and sometimes sex can be awkward, and it can be funny and playful, and you want it to be playful. You should be able to laugh too, and just enjoy each other's company in that way. Tenderness is another aspect of sexuality that makes for a great lover. That one of the first things to learn about sex is it's about giving. It's about caring for the other person. It's about giving yourself to the other person. That's really a lot of the biblical ideal. And as men, we may have to learn and relearn from our culture's perspective that like sex is a conquest, something you take or achieve about or from somebody else. We need the emotional maturity to be givers first, and to know that your spouse needs to feel like they're loved and cared for and connected, and conflict is resolved, and that you've invested in them in other ways before you start trying to invest in a physical way. And the opposite of all this, so the opposite of protection and tenderness and investment and care, is violence, to be rough, to be angry. And that's a terrible tragedy, to bring violence into the bedroom, this place where you make yourself most ultimately vulnerable. You want your bedroom to be the place where your spouse knows that she'll be treated tenderly, she will be cared for and loved, she will have her desires and wishes heard, and that she's cherished by someone who loves her more than anyone else.
And and if we're tuning into each other emotionally, that creates a safety place for us where we feel like we can express ourselves physically if we feel like we've been hurt emotionally. So being able to have a place that we feel safe and loved and secure creates the environment to be able to give of ourselves.
Tenderness means being tender also with your words, right? And then we're talking about communication earlier. There's a strong link there between building each other's self-esteem and building an intimate sexual relationship. You know, the bedroom is no place for criticism, no place to notice or mention
Don't tell
flaws.
anyone that they put on weight.
Right.
These are not appropriate things.
Right.
You know, we've promised to love each other for better, for worse, and we want to make sure that we're honoring each other by the words that we speak to each other. Being naked with one another, physically, emotionally. This is a vulnerable place, and we want to make sure that we're treating one another with grace and compassion.
Tenderness also is physical. It's about being tender with your touch. It's about being communicative and not taking advantage or assuming some sex act or another is something that you're going to get or force, or, you know, that's a conversation. This is something, and you have a significant amount of latitude in a marriage to care for each other in many ways, but you don't take advantage of power to take what you want. Tenderness demands that we care for each other first.
The third quality for great lovers is about responsiveness. And, you know, our reaction to that tenderness and that safety is that we can be responsive in giving of ourselves. When we look at the analogy from Song of Songs, you know, she's inviting her lover into the garden, right? She's inviting him to be curious and explore and to, you know, find this enjoyment in her body. And it's important that we're offering our body as a gift, and we're not, you know, withholding our sexuality, but we're being open. And for our spouses, it can be hard sometimes for them to be open emotionally, and as they're able to experience sexual intimacy, it gives them a place of safety where they feel more comfortable to be vulnerable and to share their emotions. So it's a place where as we give, we're given back to. And if we look at Song of Songs, you know, there's very explicit acts in there. We can see, you know, oral sex is mentioned in there, and it's important for us to be able to be playful and to have fun in our marriage. That it's a place where we can explore one another's bodies and have fun with each other, and to just view our sexuality as a gift that we can give and have fun. And within that climate of trust that you were talking about, that's a place where we can feel comfortable with giving of ourselves.
And responsiveness is again communication. It's letting your spouse know that if your spouse is making overtures and you're not responding, that's a no, right? That's you might, if your spouse is, you know, rubbing your shoulders or something, or holding your hand, and you don't react, then you don't really know. That does communicate. That's not silence. That's a communication of negativity. So you want to affirm that which you are inviting.
And I think it can be really hard. I would say for women in particular, you know, our bodies go through so many, you know, changes with pregnancy and you know, as we age, and our culture ties our body image so much to our physical appearance, and it can make us really insecure. And it's important to talk about how you're feeling about your body, and give your spouse a chance to express their love for you the way that you are. And but if we're withholding the gift of our sexuality because we're feeling insecure, all our spouse is hearing is rejection. And we don't want to be communicating rejection. And we talked about, that physicality as one of the love languages. We don't want our spouse feeling unloved in our marriage. So we want to make sure that we're moving past our own insecurities to be able to give ourselves as a gift.
Our fourth aspect of being a great lover is romance, setting the scene for great sex. Romance is the bridge. It's sort of this processional march of investing in time with one another, between that everyday world of the practical, the mundane, and the private space of investing in each other alone in your room together. Romance and playfulness is the antidote to sex becoming mechanical and routine. And you want to create some mystery. You want to create some romance. You want to spend some time investing in each other in those other areas of investing emotionally and caring for one another, so that there's a sense of care for one another. And it can involve doing something out of the ordinary. Maybe it's a candlelight dinner in your own house or something, but explore things that your spouse finds valuable and romantic, and that's partially where that love language business comes in. Invest in some of your spouse's love languages, and that can feed into your physical relationship.
Yeah, and romance, it can be the smallest of acts. I mean, it doesn't need to be a grand gesture. I can remember a Valentine's Day where I took a little basket of goodies to your office. It's just chocolates and things. But I had wrapped some negligee around a wine bottle tucked in there, and he walked very proud around that office. And it's something that was saying, I love you and I care about you and I'm excited to see you. And
it did get noticed.
So just those, small things can just be fueling the romance in your relationship. Number 5 is about anticipation, and that's just about being able to, put your mind to I'm looking forward to seeing you and spending time with you and investing in you. So having negligee wrapped around the wine bottle and when you got to your office
at
in the morning. It gave you anticipation to be able to come home and find me, So anticipation is an important building block to build in, because so much of our sexuality is started in our heads, right? And as we think about each other, we're sending a loving text or a note in our, lunch bag. Those things build our encouragement to see one another.
Right. All those love languages build anticipation. Investing in those other areas of intimacy build anticipation. Our 6th aspect is variety, because familiarity can breed complacency, and there are days and periods of your life where just finding the time to be together, to have sort of routine sex, is great. It's just fine because there's so much else going on. But over a lifetime, you want to enjoy each other. You want to take time at home. You want to take time going away. You want to have celebrations of your anniversary. You want to invest in date time. You want to be creative. You want to have little mini honeymoons. You want to explore each other in the way that only you two together can.
Get a lock for your bedroom door so that little children aren't, dropping in and kiboshing the intimacy in your relationship. And that just gives you the freedom to be able to enjoy each other and to get comfortable with one another. And I would say be mindful of the other person's desires, that you're not having your spouse do anything that puts them in a place where they're uncomfortable or they don't feel okay with. So, just getting permission from each other about, what they're going to be okay with and what they're going to be happy with. And then just take the time to have fun and enjoy each other.
So we give a little mini homework with this lesson. We talk about sometime in the next month, You two should choose to make love in some way that's different than the usual. Choose a time, a place, a technique, or just take the initiative to change something and explore, do something that's a little out of the ordinary so that you are putting a little variety into your love life. And explore each other again so that you can build intimacy in this way and all the other ways as well.
All right, we will see you next time. And next time I think we're talking about spirituality. So come back and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.